Here for PHLY, I'm Fran Duffy, here to share my thoughts after going through the film of the Eagles' big win down in the Big Easy against the New Orleans Saints. And there was a lot to take away from this game on tape. We'll start on the defensive side of the football, where number 98, Jalen Carter, he stood out in a big way on film. Whether it was the run game, pass game, Jalen Carter was extremely disruptive, and it started on the opening drive and it continued all the way up through the end of the game. If you were an Eagles fan, this is what you were hoping for from the second-year defensive tackle. Again, a guy that can change the outcome of a game on any given snap because of what he can do getting after the quarterback. You saw his anchor strength against the run. You saw his ability to win with his hands. You saw the disruptive ability against the pass, the explosive burst. You still want to be able to see him get home against the quarterback. Didn't get a sack in this game, but I think overall, the amount of pressure that he created, this Eagles defensive line was in Derek Carr's face from the jump, and they did a great job of being able to limit what was an explosive passing attack, and we'll get to the secondary here in a minute. But to me, the second item on the defensive side that you have to hit on, Vic Fangio in this game plan. After getting run all over last Monday night against the Atlanta Falcons, the defense came back in a big way. They completely removed an outstanding first down rushing attack from the New Orleans Saints and Alvin Kamara. They held Kamara to about 3.3 yards per carry on the ground, and just with a variety of fronts. And what they really did, and we'll get into the breakdown over on PHLY, but the big thing was just continue to mix up their fronts against that blocking scheme. Sometimes they came out with a 4-down front, sometimes with a 5-down, sometimes with a 6-down front, and just continuing to mess with what their blocking schemes were up front, and then guys winning their one-on-one matchups, especially along the defensive line. That really stood out watching this on film. We're going to get into my breakdown of all the different reasons why the Eagles were able to come out on top with on the ground game. Just an outstanding job from that entire defensive front. But let's not skim over the secondary. I mentioned that was an explosive passing attack. Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, yeah, they still got into the end zone. They put some points on the board, but they limited the explosive plays in a big way. Rashid Shaheed kept off the box score in this game. Outstanding job from Quinyon Mitchell, Darius Slay. Reed Blankenship, I thought, was outstanding in this game. Obviously, he had the game-sealing interception at the end, but he did a good job of taking away crossing routes, deterring throws from Derek Carr, and limiting this passing attack, forcing checkdowns. Really good job from the secondary in this game, and a lot of examples of the rush being married with the coverage. And so sometimes, hey, the coverage wasn't there, but the rush was able to pick them up. And sometimes it was vice versa as well. And that's what you want to see from a good defensive football team. Let's now go over to the offensive side. And the three big things right off there, we'll start at the top. Number 88, Dallas Goedert, a huge day, record-setting day for Dallas Goedert, not just in his own right, but amongst tight ends in Eagles history. So you look at Dallas Goedert, he was a factor early and often. Obviously, he had the huge 61-yard catch later in the game, but early on, you saw screens, you saw RPOs, you saw the vertical play down the field. So being used at all three levels of the field, and was a big focal point of this passing game, certainly was needed after the injury to Devontae Smith. And so Dallas Goedert, we'll get into a lot of his big plays in the day and exactly how the Eagles were able to script those up. Then you get to Saquon Barkley, another big day on the ground for number 26. How did that 65-yard touchdown run happen? Outstanding job from the offensive line, but Saquon Barkley was just remarkable in this game once again, and what he can do to raise the ceiling of this offense and of the rushing attack is going to be really big for this offense moving forward, and it'll certainly be important this week. We'll wait to hear on the availability of Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, certainly going into this matchup against the Tampa Bay Bucks. And then lastly, talking about the availability, the offensive line, the backups along the offensive line. Tyler Steen at right guard, subbing in for Mekhi Becton. Lane Johnson goes out. Fred Johnson goes in. So how did Steen look? How did Johnson look? Those guys did a really nice job passing things off in the stunt and twist game, handling their business in the run game as well. They got a little bit exposed a little bit in the back end of the game in terms of pass protection, Fred Johnson in particular, but I thought those guys held up really well, and a lot to like there on film. So I'll get into all those breakdowns. Everything you see here that I just talked about, I'm going to be breaking it all down over on my article, breaking down the offense and the defense. You can only get it if you're a diehard over at ALLCITY. I'll also be joining Bo Wulf, Zach Berman as well on the PHLY Eagles show this week, Tuesday afternoon, as well as on Thursday. So make sure you tune in later this week on the PHLY Eagles show.
We all silly like the mayor.